Ho Chi Minh was born into a patriotic Confucian family and grew up in a region renowned for its valiant tradition of resistance against foreign invaders. Living under the harsh rule of French colonialism, during his youth and early adulthood, Ho Chi Minh witnessed firsthand the suffering of his compatriots and the many struggles of the Vietnamese people against colonial oppression. From an early age, he nurtured the determination to drive out the colonizers, win independence for his nation, and bring freedom and happiness to his people. With this resolve and determination, in June 1911, Ho Chi Minh left his homeland and set out for the West to seek a path to national liberation. On June 3, 1911, under the name Van Ba, Nguyen Tat Tan obtained a seaman's card and boarded the French vessel Amiral Latouche Treville. 2 days later, on June 5, 1911, the ship departed from Na Rong Wharf, bound for France. From 1912 to 1917, under the name Nguyen Tat Tan, Ho Chi Minh traveled to many countries across Asia, Europe, the Americas, and Africa, living and working alongside ordinary laborers. Through these experiences, he gained deep sympathy for the hardships endured by working people and the colonized nations, as well as for their sacred aspirations for freedom and equality. Ho Chi Minh came to understand early on that Vietnam's struggle for national liberation was part of the broader movement of oppressed peoples worldwide. He therefore dedicated himself to uniting peoples of all nations in the common fight for independence and freedom. At the end of 1917, Ho Chi Minh returned to France from England, where he became active in the Vietnamese expatriate movement and the French workers' movement. In 1919, under the name Nguyen Ai Quoc, representing the Vietnamese patriots in France, Ho Chi Minh submitted to the Versailles Conference a petition demanding freedom and democratic rights for the Vietnamese people, and, by extension, for all peoples of the colonies. Influenced by the Russian October Revolution of 1917 and Lenin's theses on the national and colonial question, in December 1920, Nguyen Ai Quoc attended the 18th Congress of the French Socialist Party, where he voted in favor of the party's affiliation with the Third International, the Communist International. He thereby became one of the founding members of the French Communist Party. From a patriotic nationalist, Ho Chi Minh evolved into a communist revolutionary. He affirmed, open quote, "To save the nation and liberate our people, there is no other path than the path of the proletarian revolution." Close quote. In 1921, together with other patriots from French colonies, Nguyen Ai Quoc co-founded the Union of Colonial Peoples. In April 1922, the Union launched the newspaper Le Pariah, the Pariah, aimed at uniting, organizing, and guiding the liberation movements in the colonized countries. Many of Nguyen Ai Quoc's articles were later compiled into the book The Black Book of French Colonialism, Le Procès du Colonialisme Français, published in Paris in 1925 under the title The Colonial Regime on Trial, Le Procès du Colonialisme Français, more widely known in English as The Black Book of French Colonialism or The Indictment of French Colonialism. This work was a profound study exposing the nature of colonialism, awakening and inspiring the oppressed peoples of the colonies to rise up for their own liberation. In June 1923, Nguyen Ai Quoc left France for the Soviet Union, where he worked for the Communist International, Comintern. In October 1923, at the First International Peasants' Conference, Nguyen Ai Quoc was elected to the Executive Committee of the Peasants' International, becoming the only delegate from colonial countries to serve on its presidium. He later attended the 5th Congress of the Communist International, the 4th Congress of the Youth International, and the Congress of the Red International of Labor Unions. At these gatherings, Nguyen Ai Quoc steadfastly defended and creatively developed Lenin's ideas on national and colonial questions, directing the Comintern's attention toward the national liberation movements. In November 1924, as a member of the Eastern Department of the Comintern and the Presidium of the Peasants' International, Nguyen Ai Quoc went to Guangzhou, China. There, he worked as part of the Soviet advisory mission led by Mikhail Borodin to assist Sun Yat-sen's government. In 1925, Nguyen Ai Quoc founded the Vietnam Revolutionary Youth League, personally organizing and conducting political training courses to educate revolutionary cadres. He also launched the weekly newspaper Than Youth, the first revolutionary newspaper of Vietnam, which served as a key instrument for spreading Marxism-Leninism and preparing the groundwork for the formation of the Communist Party of Vietnam. His lectures at these training courses were later compiled and published as the book Duong Cach Men, The Revolutionary Path, a seminal theoretical work that laid the ideological foundation for the Vietnamese revolutionary movement. In May 1927, Nguyen Ai Quoc left Guangzhou for Moscow, then traveled to Berlin, Germany, and Brussels, Belgium, to attend an expanded session of the World Anti-Imperialist League, and afterward visited Italy before returning to Asia. From July 1928 to November 1929, he was active among the Vietnamese patriotic community in Siam, Thailand, continuing his efforts to prepare for the establishment of the Communist Party of Vietnam. In February 1930, Nguyen Ai Quoc presided over the conference to found the Communist Party of Vietnam, held in Kowloon, Hong Kong, China. The conference adopted the brief political thesis, brief strategy, and brief statutes of the Communist Party of Vietnam, the vanguard of the working class and the entire Vietnamese nation. In June 1931, Nguyen Ai Quoc was arrested by the British authorities in Hong Kong. In early 1933, he was released. From 1934 to 1938, Nguyen Ai Quoc studied at the Institute for the Study of National and Colonial Questions in Moscow, Soviet Union. Firmly committed to the revolutionary path he had chosen for Vietnam, he continued to monitor and guide the movement in his homeland. In October 1938, he left the Soviet Union for China, where he re-established contact with the party organization in preparation for his return to Vietnam. On January 28, 1941, after more than 30 years abroad, Nguyen Ai Quoc returned to his beloved homeland. In May 1941, Nguyen Ai Quoc convened the 8th plenum of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Vietnam, during which the party adopted the revolutionary line for national salvation in the new period. The conference decided to establish the League for the Independence of Vietnam, Viet Minh, organize and build up the armed liberation forces, and create revolutionary base areas. In August 1942, under the name Ho Chi Minh, he represented the Viet Minh Front and the Vietnamese subcommittee of the International Anti-Imperialist League on a mission to China to seek international alliance and coordination in the common struggle against fascism in the Pacific Theater. During this journey, he was arrested by the local authorities of Chiang Kai-shek and imprisoned in various jails in Guangxi province. During 1 year and 14 days of imprisonment, he composed the poetry collection Prison Diary, Nut Ki Trong Tu, consisting of 133 classical Chinese poems. In September 1943, Ho Chi Minh was released. In September 1944, Ho Chi Minh returned to the revolutionary base in Cao Bang. In December 1944, he ordered the establishment of the Vietnam Propaganda Liberation Army Team, the forerunner of the Vietnam People's Army. In May 1945, Ho Chi Minh left Cao Bang for Tân Trao, Tuyen Quang. There, at his proposal, the National Congress of the Party and the National People's Congress were convened, deciding to launch a general uprising. The National Congress elected the Provisional Government of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam with Ho Chi Minh as president. In August 1945, Ho Chi Minh and the Central Committee of the party led the people to victory in the August Revolution, seizing power nationwide. On September 2, 1945, at Ba Ding Square in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh solemnly read the Declaration of Independence, proclaiming the founding of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, and introduced the Provisional Government, in which he served as President and concurrently Minister of Foreign Affairs. He then organized the first nationwide general election, elected the National Assembly, and promulgated the country's first democratic constitution. On January 1, 1946, the Provisional Coalition Government was established with Ho Chi Minh as President and concurrently Minister of Foreign Affairs. In January 1946, the First National Assembly elected him President of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. On March 2, 1946, the Resistance Coalition Government was formed, with Ho Chi Minh as President. On the November 3rd, 1946, the National Assembly entrusted him with forming a new government, in which he served as president and concurrently prime minister from November 1946 to September 1955, and minister of foreign affairs from November 1946 to 1947. Together with the party's Central Committee, President Ho Chi Minh led the entire party, army, and people to defeat imperialist schemes, preserve and strengthen the revolutionary government. On December 19, 1946, he called upon the entire nation to rise in resistance against French colonial aggression, to defend national independence and freedom, and to protect and advance the gains of the August Revolution. At the Second National Party Congress, 1951, he was elected president of the party's Central Committee. Under the leadership of the party, headed by President Ho Chi Minh, the Vietnamese People's Resistance War against French colonialism achieved a historic victory, culminating in the triumphant Battle of Dien Bien Phu on May 7, 1954. After the complete liberation of North Vietnam, 1955, the party's Central Committee and President Ho Chi Minh formulated two strategic tasks for the Vietnamese Revolution: to carry out the socialist revolution and build socialism in the North, and to struggle for national liberation and reunification in the South, thereby completing the national democratic revolution throughout the country. In October 1956, at the 10th expanded plenum of the Second Central Committee, President Ho Chi Minh was elected president of the party and concurrently served as general secretary. At the Third National Party Congress, 1960, he was unanimously re-elected president of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Vietnam. The Second and Third National Assemblies elected him president of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. In 1964, the U.S. imperialists launched an air war against North Vietnam. President Ho Chi Minh inspired the entire nation to overcome all hardships and sacrifices, determined to defeat the U.S. aggressors. He affirmed, "The war may last 5, 10, 20 years, or longer. Hanoi, Haiphong, and several other cities and factories may be destroyed, but the Vietnamese people are not afraid. Nothing is more precious than independence and freedom. When victory comes, our people will rebuild our country to be more beautiful and prosperous than ever before." President Ho Chi Minh passed away on September 2, 1969, in Hanoi. Before his death, he left the Vietnamese people a sacred testament instructing the party and people on what must be done to rebuild the country after the war. He wrote, "My ultimate wish is that our entire party and people unite in striving to build a peaceful, unified, independent, democratic, and prosperous Vietnam, and to make a worthy contribution to the revolutionary cause of the world." Fulfilling his testament, the entire Vietnamese people united to defeat the U.S. B-52 bombing campaign, forcing the U.S. government to sign the Paris Agreement on January 27, 1973, ending the war of aggression and withdrawing all U.S. and Allied troops from South Vietnam. In the spring of 1975, with the historic Ho Chi Minh campaign, the Vietnamese people completely liberated the South and reunified the nation, fulfilling President Ho Chi Minh's sacred lifelong aspiration. President Ho Chi Minh creatively applied Marxism-Leninism to Vietnam's concrete conditions, formulating a correct revolutionary line that led the Vietnamese Revolution from one victory to another. He founded the Marxist-Leninist Party in Vietnam, the Vietnamese National United Front, the Vietnam People's Armed Forces, and the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, while promoting international solidarity. He was a shining example of collective spirit, organizational discipline, and revolutionary ethics. President Ho Chi Minh was the great teacher of the Vietnamese Revolution, the beloved leader of the working class and the entire nation, an outstanding soldier and distinguished figure of the international communist and national liberation movements. From October 20th to November 20th, 1987, at its 24th session, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, adopted Resolution 24C 18.6.5, proclaiming the year 1990, the 100th anniversary of President Ho Chi Minh's birth, to honor him as a national liberation hero and great man of culture of Vietnam, who made outstanding contributions to the common struggle of peoples worldwide for peace, national independence, democracy, and social progress.